there, this is Ellen Clark with Control Corrective Skincare, and I'm excited to have back Claire Barnes. She is a waxing educator and author of 2 books, and I love having her here because she can share with us some things about waxing. And I realize after being an esthetician as many years as I have, there's still so much I don't know, and one of the things is just even sometimes knowing how to choose a wax to use or the difference between the waxes, and some other tips and tricks that I hope you'll share with us. So thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
And maybe if you could start by telling us, and I know you educate a lot and do one-on-ones, but about different types of wax and some of the things we need to know that you hear about.
Well, there's 2 types of wax basically. There's a soft wax, which you use with strips. This wax is used on larger areas like the back, the chest, the legs, sometimes on facial waxing. Then there's hard wax, which basically is used without strips. So you apply the hard wax and you remove it, as I say, without strips. And hard wax shrink wraps around the hair. It doesn't touch the skin per se. So it's good to use on sensitive areas like Brazilians for male or female, and some facial waxing too, and also for some underarms. And a lot of the hard waxes come in like little pellets, they're like little beads. So you empty your bag of beads into your wax tin to keep the tin, full all the time, because as the tin level drops, the temperature of the wax gets hotter. So it's best to have them in pellets so you can keep topping up the tin, basically.
Is there a temperature difference between hard wax and soft wax?
Well, hard wax generally is applied cooler, and it's thicker. It's really thick when you apply it. It takes a bit of getting used to work with it, but it's the best thing to use for Brazilians and stuff like that. And I think we discussed in an interview once before, it's best to keep those clients out of the emergency room and use the appropriate wax for the appropriate areas, for the correct areas.
Yeah, what about color and smell of different types of wax? Like, how do you decide? Because you go to the shows, and I know you educate. You were telling me when you educate, you have the students learn with different types of wax as well.
Yeah, because I'm not affiliated with one waxing company. I don't represent anybody. So I like the students to learn with lots of different waxes, from a cheap wax to a mid-range wax to an expensive wax, so they can play around and figure out which ones that they like. The ones I love, they may not love so much. But there is different scented waxes, and there's like pina coladas, there's pumpkin,
There's even chocolate, right? I tried
there's
chocolate
chocolates and stuff. They smell good. I don't think they really they don't make any difference to the actual application, but they just smell better than something that's like, nasty smell.
Another question I have is there such thing as a honey wax? Or I know there's resins and honeys, or like sometimes...
Yeah, there is. Honeys tend to, I don't really use honey wax too much because I tend to find that a lot of people can be allergic to it.
Oh, wow.
Or they can find out they're allergic to it, and I don't want to be, again, the person that they're calling because they've come up in loads of lumps and bumps. And so there's lots of waxes for sensitive skin, cream waxes, azulene, which is for sensitive skin. There's so many different ones out there, but I like to help people pick the good
that's
waxes.
great. I would have loved to learn one-on-one from you, because learning by making mistakes is not the best way to learn waxing. What about some things when you're waxing men in private, even women too, but men, it can be particularly private areas?
Well, I always use hard wax. Okay. When I'm waxing down there on both men and women, I use hard wax, and I've actually got a story to tell you about the pina colada wax. I was waxing a man a few months ago, and I was using the pina colada hard wax down there on his bits. And I said, "Have your nuts ever smelled a pina colada before?" And he's like, "No, why?" And I'm like, "Well, they do now." and that made the whole service for him go so much smoother. You got to have that humour. You got to have the humour, or just the confidence when you're working, especially with men in the waxing area. You've got to make them feel at home and relaxed and stuff.
Also, one of the things is speed is an issue, right? I mean, like, you don't want to go to get waxed and have somebody take an hour to wax your
No,
legs.
you don't. But I'm also not an advocate for vagina factories where they get them in and out within 5-10 minutes. I'm not an advocate for that. I like my bits, and I want them to leave in one piece, and I think most people do too. So I'm always a little bit wary when students say, "I want you to teach me to be the fastest waxer." I'm like, why? Mm-hmm. Respect that person's lady garden, It's like, yeah, you do make more money, but it's better to be safer than sorry. And ideally, when you're first starting out waxing, give yourself an hour. Don't beat yourself up thinking that you have to get that client in and out in half an hour, you will start picking up confidence and speed, and then just reduce your time each time, and it happens. You get there eventually. You just got to have a lot of people to practice on. Your grandma, your grandpa, anybody.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, that's how you get good, right?
Yeah.
I think too, lastly, what you do that's unique is that you do, and I think you should speak to this, you do one-on-one and you do private waxing classes. I've never heard of anyone that does that. You know, usually it's at a trade show or we learn what we learn in school, but maybe at the end here, you can tell people what you do one-on-one, because I think that's really unique. And if people want to contact Claire, you can go to her website, or we will provide her email.
Well, I like to do the private one-on-one. Sometimes I teach 2 students at the most. But I like it, I don't like the group setting for myself, because I don't like the feeling when class starts at 10 o'clock and people start coming in at 10:30 and they start asking questions that were already covered 30 minutes before, and it slows down the other students. Then you've got the diva student that thinks she knows it all, and so I prefer the private one-on-one, so I can show them how to remove ingrown hairs, how to increase your tip jar. I'll give you some little tips, how to speed up the drying time of the wax, because you have to wait for hard wax to dry before you can remove it. So I give them these
And
little
how to
tips.
hold your hands.
How to hold you both hands and body positioning, and I find it's just so much better, and the student gets 95% of hands-on, and that's what they're there for. They're not there for all the theory and just to watch. They're there to get in there and do it, and I find that much easier when it's private.
Waxing is super lucrative, so any of you that want to increase your waxing business, really, I would suggest you contact Claire, and you gave us some good tips today. Thank you
Oh, thank
so
you.
much,
Thanks.
and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.